Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your very first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out my podcast. This is a basketball podcast, so I talk about the NBA, but I also like to cover high school, college, and international basketball. Today's date is March 25th, 2026. It's about 11 a.m., so anything that happens after 11 o'clock today will not be featured in on this episode. So I want to give you guys the parameters that I go over week in and week out. The first being a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, PJ's Echelon essentially it's just my power rankings, understanding that it is a progressive list because I am a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. And I'll give you guys the actual full parameters for that here in a second because that's our first segment. Another segment I go over is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, I'm either ranting or I'm talking about some type of NBA news or some type of NBA historical history that was made. Today, we're going to talk about some high school news, and then we'll also talk about a little bit of NBA news. And then another segment I go over is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about games either I attended myself, games that I really enjoyed like watching, or it could be games of some type of significance. Today, I'm going to talk about some games that I ended up going to. And then my last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, in the Lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, high school, college, or international basketball, okay? Let's dive straight into it. I don't want to waste any more of you guys' time. I'm trying to keep these episodes between 25 and 35 minutes. My first segment is a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. PJ's Echelon essentially is just my power rankings, understanding that it is a progressive list because I am a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. And the parameters that I like to use when I'm kind of sorting out and organizing my power rankings is I like to use eye test, statistically where the team sits, the team's record, and then also the team's strength of schedule. Just so you guys know, the last time I did my power rankings was March 9th. So we have had quite a few games in between to kind of just gather more information about some of these teams. The last 2 weeks, I've done stuff with my college basketball during this time. But yeah, so let's just dive straight into it. Again, this is being recorded March 25th. At about 11 a.m. So anything that happens after 11 today will not be featured in on this podcast or even in these power rankings. We got some really good games today, by the way. But let's dive straight into it. My number one team this week is none other than the 57-15 Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC right now, they're 7th in offensive rating, 1st in defensive rating, they're 1st in net rating, on a 7-game win streak currently. They got the toughest remaining schedule left in the NBA. They got to play Detroit, Boston, New York, the Lakers twice, Denver, and Phoenix, which I think could potentially benefit them heading into the playoffs, playing that kind of schedule. Last year around this time, and they actually finished last year 16 and 8 in clutch time games, which is about a 67% win percentage. This year, they're 22 and 10, which is a 69% winning percentage. And this is in clutch time games, and the clutch is defined as the last 5 minutes of the game with the game within 5. So OKC has marginally improved in clutch time games, which is just more scary for the rest of the NBA. They're number one this week for me. Number two, it is the 54-18 San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio right now, they're 5th in offensive rating, 3rd in defensive rating, 4th in net rating. They are 30-9 since January 1st. Also something that I came across that was really interesting to me is that since January 1st, they're 27th in steals per game. So just something to put in the back of you guys' mind. They're 5th in transition frequency at 21%, and that's on the season. They're 5th in transition frequency. They're also 6th in points out of the transition at 27. So as you guys know, and as we know, San Antonio they rely on getting out in transition. They're a young team, so just something to be mindful of as we go into the playoffs. Still, my biggest concern with this team is their three-point shooting. It has marginally improved, but it's not necessarily where I would like it to be. I would like to see them in the top 10 in three-point percentage. Right now, I think they're hovering at like 14, I believe. So that's just something I'll be mindful of as we go through this home stretch with the Spurs. But they're my number 2 team this week. Number 3, this team is 52-19, and it is Detroit Pistons. Detroit right now, they're 9th in offensive rating, they're 2nd in defensive rating, and they're 2nd in net rating. They're 8-2 without Cade. They're 9-2 with Danis Jenkins in their starting lineup. Great pickup for them with him. He's had a great year. He actually just had his career high against the Lakers, I believe. I think he had 30 points in that game. So shout out to Danis Jenkins for what he's been doing this year, and shout out to the Detroit front office for finding that talent. I still love this team's defense and togetherness. Obviously, my biggest concern with them, and I've been on the record to say this about them and the Spurs, is as well Detroit's three-point shooting. They're 22nd in the NBA in three-point percentage at 35%, which I think at some point, if that doesn't improve substantially during this home stretch, will show itself for them during the playoffs. Number 4, this team is 47 and 24, and it is the Boston Celtics. Boston right now, they're second in offensive rating, they're fourth in defensive rating, and they're third in net rating. So for me right now, I think Boston, and I don't really have too much to say about them. I think right now, the biggest thing for them is just building that chemistry with Tatum being added to the lineup. Otherwise, I don't really have much more to say about this team. I think, I'm not going to say too much about them. I'm not worried about them. I've seen stuff that I've heard people say that should Tatum even came back and they shouldn't be deferring to him and stuff. I just think they're just trying to rebuild the chemistry because they are going to need him if they want to win the NBA title this year. Like let's just keep it a buck, okay? Number 5, this team is 48 and 25, and it is the New York Knicks. New York right now, they're third in offensive rating, they're fifth in defensive rating, they're fifth in net rating. They're 7 and 4 since the last time I did this power rankings. They have the second toughest remaining schedule. They got OKC, Boston, Houston, Toronto, and Charlotte twice. Again, same thing for them as it was for OKC. I think this could benefit them long term when it comes to just kind of ramping up and getting ready for the playoffs. I really do think this playoff run is going to be very pivotal for this Knicks squad. I know this is only kind of year 2 with this core, but they changed the coach. Eventually, after you change a coach, the only other thing you can do is change the roster. And so I think the pressure is on, right? James Dolan's laid down the pressure on this team months ago. The pressure is on for them to perform in the playoffs. I think they have to get to the conference finals at minimum, and it'd be a competitive conference finals. So, pressure's on for New York, man, or we're going to see changes in the Big Apple this summer, I think. Number 6, this team is 45 and 27. It is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland right now, they're 6th in offensive rating. They're 14th in defensive rating. They're 8th in net rating. I asked for a healthy team. Last time I did this for Cleveland, I was like, man, I just hope that they get a chance to have a healthy roster during the home stretch of these last 20 games. Unfortunately, Jared Allen's been out with tendonitis in his knee, which we know how that can go. So hopefully he's able to return with about 3 to 4 games remaining is kind of my hope for him, just so he can ramp up for the playoffs. Honestly, they have the third easiest remaining schedule, so he'll be able to come back, hopefully, and be able to contribute those last 3 to 4 games is what I'm hoping for. But they get to play Atlanta, they play Miami twice, and they got the Lakers once, which I think the Lakers game, I believe, is next week. So with them, honestly, I think same thing as the Knicks. I think this is going to be a pivotal playoff run for them. I know they just added James Harden, but they also got to figure out if they even want to pay James Harden. So Cleveland's on the clock as well. Number 7, this team is 46 and 26, and it is the Los Angeles Lakers. LA right now, they're 8th in offensive rating, 20th in defensive rating, 14th in net rating. With the Lakers, since January 1st, they're 26 and 15. Against the West during that stretch, they're 15 and 8. They're 9 and 1 in their last 10. They're 30 and 16 against the West overall on the season. Luka's doing Luka stuff. They got the 7th best offensive rating since January 1st. I really want to see, because they still got 2 games against OKC, and they got a game against Cleveland next week. Like I said, I believe. And then they also got one more game against Phoenix. With the Lakers, I really just want to see if defensively, if they can show me some playoff defense, right? Like I want to see if the Lakers can crank up the defense knob from being, 20th in the NBA. Can they crank up and tap 16th by the time the playoffs come around? That's what I'll be looking out for them. Really watching these games against some of these potential playoff teams. Number 8, this team is 44 and 28, and it is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota right now, they're 12th in offensive rating, 8th in defensive rating, 10th in net rating. They're 4 and 4 since the last time I did this. They actually have the third worst free throw percentage in the NBA at 75%, but they average the 5th most attempts at 26%. So they're leaving a lot of coin on the board, in my opinion, with that. They're 7th worst in turnovers per game at 15 since January 1st. And the only teams that are worst are lottery teams. I've already told you guys how I feel about this Minnesota team. I really do think this is a stagnant team. I think Chris Finch may be out of there this summer, respectfully, even though I know he's been to the conference finals 2 consecutive years. When stagnation comes, man, all bets are off. And a change is coming, I think, in Houston. I mean, not in Houston, in Minnesota. Number 9, it is the Houston Rockets. Houston right now, they're 43-28. They're 10th in offensive rating, 9th in defensive rating, 9th in net rating. First and foremost, I want to congrats KD for moving to 5th all-time on the scoring list. He just passed Michael Jordan a couple days ago, so I want to show him some love there. They're 19-21 in clutch time games, which, like I told you guys, the clutch is defined as 5 minutes to go with the game being within 5 points. So that's something just to be mindful of, really, as we're getting into the playoffs. Since January 1st, the three-point shooting, which I kind of figured was going to happen, and I talked about this in the winter back in December because they were on a burner. But since January 1st, they have crashed down to earth in their three-point shooting. They're actually 29th in three-point percentage at 34%. They're also, during that stretch, they're also tied for third in turnovers per game at 16. So Houston not looking good going into the playoffs. I know there's probably some eternal things going on there. Number 10, this team is 45-28, and it is the Denver Nuggets. Denver right now, they're first in offensive rating, 21st in defensive rating, 7th in net rating. They're 8-4 since the last time I did this. They're finally fully healthy. I'm not sure if Peyton Watson and Gordon Hayward are going to play. Not Gordon Hayward, Aaron Gordon. I don't know if they're going to play tonight or not, but the crew is back. So we're going to see how they close out the rest of this year. They still got OKC once. They play the Spurs twice. So they still got a couple meaningful games that they can kind of, as they're healthy, kind of go into and kind of just see where they're at. So I'm looking forward to watching Denver as they close this stretch. And then my teams on the bubble, I have the Raptors, I have the Orlando Magic, and I have the Phoenix Suns. You guys let me know who's in your top 10 and who do you guys have on your bubble. My next segment is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, I'm giving you guys some type of basketball news, some type of basketball historical history that was made, or it could just be me ranting. Today, we're going to talk about some news across basketball. We'll start with the NBA. The NBA League Office informed all NBA teams of a couple things we're going to talk about right now. We'll talk about the salary cap first. So next year's salary cap is coming in at $1 million less due to local media revenue, which, yikes, it's not really a good sign when we're going backwards. But, so the numbers, I'm going to give you guys the numbers. So the salary cap is $165 million, and then the first apron comes in at $209 million. And then second apron comes in at $222 million. So, and that's all three of those are projected to come in $1 million under what they originally were forecasting. So that's something I want to let you guys know. And then obviously the big, I guess, the most validate news, I wouldn't say big news because we all kind of figured it was going to happen, but the NBA now, they voted on basically not if, but more so when they'll add Seattle and Vegas. So that happened recently within the last, 48 hours or so. And then another piece of news that I think is, in my opinion, the most important piece of news that I kind of came up on was that the NBA, obviously there's been talks about the NBA draft lottery changing. Well, they're going to do it, and it's actually going to take an effect for this upcoming draft. So I think in May, the league office or April, I think either April or May, they're supposed to get together at some meeting and talk about what they're going to do. And it's going to take effect for this upcoming draft, which when I seen that, because I was like, oh, maybe next year's draft, they said this draft. And to me, that was catastrophic. That we may see, because the NBA, I ain't going to say the NBA, sports in general are pretty rigged. They really are. But the NBA draft is notoriously, rigged, So it's going to be interesting to me to see what they come up with, because I think regardless of what they come up with, they still have to come up with a system that keeps them in control, right? So no matter how much shuffling they're going to do, they're still going to determine who they want to have what picks, So I'm just interested to see what they come up with, because they're slimy. They're slimy regardless. So, but I just thought that was interesting, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to just seeing what they come up with. Some more news is Kareem Lopez, which Kareem Lopez is somebody I've talked about on here before. He's a 6'9". I consider him small forward / power forward. He's a native. He's from Mexico, but right now he's playing for the New Zealand Breakers in Australia. But he declared for the NBA draft. I know some drafts have him projected in the lottery. I personally have him projected in that 20 to 25 range for me. So, shout out to him for declaring for the NBA draft. Another thing, and I'll keep this picture up in the corner for you guys. You guys might remember him, but Perry Rondo Jr., which is Rajon Rondo's son. He's 13 right now, and he plays varsity basketball in the state of Kentucky at 13, plays varsity basketball. Yeah, I'm going to say that again. He just had a really good performance in the state tournament game, so I just wanted to show him some love. He had 25 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and they ended up winning the game, so shout out to Perry. Another thing that happened was the number 9, based on 24/7 Sports, which is, I like to use 24/7 Sports. I like their system. I like the guys over there. He's ranked 9th. I think ESPN has the kid ranked 5th. But based on 24/7 Sports, which is, like I said, I like using that ranking, class of 2026, recruit Christian Collins. He's a 6'8" power forward. He committed to USC, so wanted to just kind of put that out there on you guys. Collins, he goes to he's from Bellflower, California, so shout out to my Uncle Lebo. But yeah, so he ended up committing to USC. USC now has 3 top 25 commits. They also have the Ratliff twins as well, which they're both centers. I haven't really talked. I'm trying to think if I talked about the Ratliff twins on here. I think I talked about one of them on here. I think I talked about Adonis on here before. But yeah, so USC now has 3 top 25 recruits for next year. They'll be a really good team if they can get Elijah Arenas to come back. But yeah, and then also another piece of college news was North Carolina plans on retiring Caleb Wilson's jersey, which I think is very interesting. So I just want to throw that at you guys. And then next week, for what's new, we'll probably be gearing up because Chipotle Nationals is next week, and then the week after that we have the Nike Hoop Summit, which I'll probably end up attending the Nike Hoop Summit, and so we'll talk about both of those things next week. Just giving you guys just some players to look out for in those events. So we'll talk about that next week because Chipotle Nationals, to me, is one of the bigger tournaments in all of high school basketball. So just wanted to put that on you guys' plate. But other than that, you guys let me know down in the comment section below. Was there any news this week that happened that you guys want to talk about? You guys let me know down in the comment section below. My next segment is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about games that I may have attended, games that I really enjoyed watching, or games of some type of significance. Today, we're going to talk about games I attended. I went to quite a bit of basketball games over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So we're going to start off. I was debating if I want to talk about the college basketball games that I went to or if I want to talk about the high school game. We're going to start off with the high school game because that was insane the way that ended. So we'll talk about it. So I live in the state of Oregon. So I ended up going to the state championship basketball game. It was with Tualatin versus Central Catholic. It was the state 6A basketball title game. It was at University of Portland. This game was nuts. I mean, great game. Second half was amazing. First half, and I'm going to try to go through all 3 of these games as fast as possible. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want to give myself enough time for my next segment. But first half ended. It was 29-28. Central Catholic led going into halftime. I felt like at the beginning of the game, Central Catholic kind of came out, had the lead. But I felt like Tualatin kind of just went on little spurts to keep themselves in the game. And mind you, Tualatin has the number 1 rated point guard in the state, Jemai Lake. He plays for Tualatin, so he was in this game. But the second half, this is when things got interesting. And I have a video for you guys I'm going to show you at the end of this to kind of speak on what I witnessed. But the second half, the backcourt of Jemai Lake, and then their other backcourt mate, he was number 2. His name is Pat. Something with a V. I forgot the kid's last name, but it starts with a V. So sorry if I didn't, know his last name. But yeah, second half, these 2 kids led the charge. I mean, full force, led the charge in the second half. Central Catholic, about midway through the third, I felt like they really started attacking the basket, forcing turnovers. And it clearly looked like, at least in my opinion, that Central Catholic was going to run away with this game. But towards the back end of the third quarter, Tualatin again just chop it away. Their backcourt, man, that backcourt was dynamic all night long. Both kids, I believe, finished with 27 points for Tualatin, both of their backcourt mates, and they accounted for most of their points. But anyways, going into the fourth quarter, it was 43-44 Tualatin. Central Catholic took control of the game early in the fourth. But again, Jemai Lake and Pat, they both kept Tualatin in this game throughout the whole thing. Down the stretch, I felt like Central Catholic was doing it by committee. I felt like they were running away with this game. They had a very comfortable lead. With under a minute to go, they were up 62-55. Central Catholic misses a couple free throws down the stretch. They allow Tualatin to stay alive. Next thing I know, I'm looking up at the score. It's 67-64. Still Central Catholic's lead, right? Central Catholic fouls Tualatin on a 4-point play. They fouled Pat, which is with number 2 on Tualatin. They fouled him, right? 5 seconds to go. He missed the free throw of the 4-point play, so it's 69-67. Tualatin gets the rebound. The refs kind of called like a dead ball out of nowhere, which was really random. Called a dead ball. Tualatin gets the ball with the chance to tie or win the game. And watch what happens. I'm going to leave the video up in the corner for you guys to watch. This was insane. This was insane what happened there. So Tualatin ends up winning the game on a corner 3. Won the state title 70-69. So shout out to Tualatin for winning the state title. That was insane. It was such a magical moment. That was actually the second game I went to. I've been to 2 high school games this year. I don't really go to like local high school basketball games. Next year I'm going to start actually like being more intentional with doing that. But even a game I went to earlier this year, a kid hit like a half court 4-point play to win the game too in that game. So I don't know. I felt like it was just a sign I need to be at more high school games. So that game happened. I went to that game. And then last Thursday, I went to a couple March Madness games. I went to Wisconsin versus High Point. Energy in the building was insane as they realized High Point had a chance to pull off the upset. High Point ends up pulling off the upset. So shout out to High Point for winning that game. Arkansas killed Hawaii. That wasn't even a contest. And then Saturday, I went back again, all gracious to God that I had the financial means to go to the games on Saturday too. I got to watch Texas versus Gonzaga. I was really happy about that because I got to watch Dalen Swain, who's somebody I've spoken about on this podcast to you guys. To me, in that game against Gonzaga, I know his numbers were not like eye-popping. I think he finished with like 14, 6, and 6 or something like that. But to me, he was the best player on the court, and Texas won. I don't like Gonzaga. Texas won the game, so I was really happy about that. And then Arkansas versus High Point. What a great game by Martin of High Point. He had like 35. Darius Acuff had 36. What a back and forth game for those two guys. I mean, it was magical. It was magical really just to be there and witness that. I felt like a lot of the people I was sitting around didn't realize what they were watching. They were just happy that High Point was in the game, to be honest, which is fine. But I just took a moment when I was there and I was like, I'm witnessing like an all-time battle, right? And it was magical. It was great to watch. So just want to let you guys know some of those games I went to. And so we'll talk about games coming up this week. First, we'll do the NBA, and then we'll talk about some of the March Madness games. So today, like I told you guys, there's some very good NBA games today. Then Thursday, we get Knicks at Hornets. Saturday, we get Pistons at Wolves. Hopefully, Ant is back by then. Friday, we get Heat at Cavs. Friday, we get Pelicans at Raptors. I think that could quietly be a good game. That's why I put that one on here. We get Celtics at Hornets on Sunday. We get Magic at Toronto on Sunday. We get Knicks at OKC on Sunday. Monday, we get Pistons at Oklahoma. Now, for college, Thursday, we get the Sweet 16. We get Texas versus Purdue. That's going to be a good game. Like I said, I'm looking forward to watching Dalen Swain play. Then we get Iowa versus Nebraska. We get Arkansas versus Arizona. We get Illinois versus Houston, and that Illinois and Houston game will be at Toyota Center in Houston. To me, the games that I'm looking forward to the most that day easily is Arkansas, Arizona, and then Illinois, Houston. Honestly, those are the two games I'm looking forward to the most. Obviously, Texas and Purdue, I'm going to watch that because just more games for me to watch Dalen Swain. And then Friday, we get the second half of the Sweet 16 game, St. John's versus Duke. I'm a Duke fan. So hopefully we get Caleb Foster back in that game. We might get him back, so that should be a good game. Bama versus Michigan. That's going to be a good game. Michigan State versus UConn should be a slugfest. And then we get Tennessee versus Iowa State. Hopefully Joshua Jefferson can play for Iowa State in that game. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys in this segment. You guys let me know down in the comment section below, what games have you guys enjoyed watching over these last 2 weeks? What games are you looking forward to this week? My last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, In the Lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, or I'm talking about high school, college, or international basketball. In honor of the Sweet 16, I just want to give you guys kind of just some players that I'll be watching out for closely during the Sweet 16. So we'll just dive straight into it. I don't want to waste any more of you guys' time. And we'll start with Thursday. So Thursday, told you guys, just gave you guys the matchups. We got some really good prospects in this game. One player on my list is Braden Burries. He's 6'4" shooting guard / point guard. He's a combo guard for University of Arizona. So I have him on here because him versus Darius, that's going to be a matchup to watch for. Honestly, probably one of my favorite matchups of the year. And I've watched a lot of college basketball. I'm very much looking forward to this matchup. Just because to me, Braden is someone that can move his draft stock up higher for me with a big performance against Darius. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Like a lot. So, because to me already, Braden Burries, to me already is probably a late lottery pick right now, but I think he could jump. He could probably jump for me maybe another 2 spots from where I have him slotted at right now. Another game on Thursday, and I'm going to just give you guys all the players for Thursday, and I'll give you guys all the players for Friday. Also, I just said his name is Dalen Swain, 6'7", small forward / shooting guard. He's a junior at Texas. I really enjoyed watching him live. I've been following him all year. I've talked about him quite a bit on this podcast. I'm really looking forward to watching him play kind of that veteran Purdue team, potentially having to guard Braden Smith or Floyer. So I'm looking forward to watching him in that game. And then another player is Keaton Wagler, 6'6", combo guard for Illinois. He's a freshman. Him playing against that Houston defense and basically in a road game at Houston, I'm looking forward to. I don't really like his personal defense, but this game is kind of going to force his hand because he's going to have to guard somebody. He's either going to have to guard Kingston Flemings, he's going to have to guard Emmanuel Sharp, or he's going to have to guard Milo Uzane. So something's got to give there. I'm going to be watching his defense exclusively in this game because I want to see how he does defensively and see if he got some defensive guts. Another player is Malik Thomas, 6'5" shooting guard freshman at Arkansas. So everybody knows who Darius Acuff is, but I've talked about Leak on here. And for me, I just really want to see in this game, I want to see Leak show everyone who he is. Because to me, he's someone I've liked all year. For me, on my big board, I have him slated in my 16 to 20 range. But to me, he could climb if he has a big performance against Arizona. So he's on here for me. And then his teammate, Trevin Brazil, he's on here too for me. He's 6'9", power forward. He's a senior at Arkansas. He's someone to me who could be a second rounder. For me, this game could really be good for him to show his value against that Arizona front line, which has a couple NBA players on that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him in this game as well. And then lastly, on Thursday, I'm looking forward to watching Chris Sinak Jr., 6'11", freshman at Houston. Him versus that big Illinois front court. I really wanted to see him cement himself in the lottery too. For me right now, I have him slotted in my 14 to 17 range. So I really want to see him cement himself for me in that game. And then Friday, we get, I have Caden Boozer, 6'4", point guard for Duke. He's a freshman. He's Cam Boozer's twin brother. To me, he will be a factor with dealing with St. John's press. He's a very, very, very good ball handler, and he takes care of the ball. He has a maturity to him. So to me, he really has a chance to play himself into some potential draft talks if he continues to perform like he has been performing. Because since the ACC tournament, when he's had to step up without Caleb Foster, and it's about a 5-game sample size. He's averaging about 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, shooting 48% from the field, 23% from 3, 92 from the free throw line. But Caden has been steadying the ship very well. Like I told you guys, we might get Caleb Foster back this week. But even if we do or if we don't, this is Caden's opportunity to put himself in some draft talks. I personally think I would like to see him come back to Duke to have a full year where he's the main starter. But if he performs in this game and beyond the rest of this tournament, he might put himself in serious draft conversations, probably just being a late first rounder, mid to late first rounder is where he might slot. And then also his teammate, my boy Patrick Gumba, 6'11" center for Duke. He's a sophomore. So for me, and I've said this before, he reminds me of Wendell Carter when Wendell Carter was at Duke. I think Patrick has first round written all over him. And this is a great game, in my opinion, for him to show it against that St. John's front court. But also, like, on a side note, I really want to see Cam Boozer in this game. I didn't put Cam Boozer as somebody I'm highlighting, but just as a side note, I really want to see Cam come out and, like, assert himself early in the game. He's notoriously throughout the year, really in big games, really haven't been, like, aggressive and making his presence felt until the second half, like really like visually making his presence felt. It's not like he's been like no-show in the first half, but like really assertively, making it known like I'm the best player on this court. I control this game. So I really want to see him get out into a strong start. So that's what I'm hoping to watch out from him in that game. Another player is Amari Allen, 6'7", small forward / power forward. He's a freshman at Bama. Him versus Yaxel and Morez Johnson is going to be fun to watch for me. And then the last play I want to talk about is Nate Ament, 6'10", small forward / power forward. He's a freshman at Tennessee. Potentially no Joshua Jefferson. So I really want to see him be the best player on the floor, win or lose. Even if Joshua Jefferson plays, Nate Ament should be able to assert himself, and to a point, really, if Joshua Jefferson's not on the court, nobody on Iowa State's going to be able to match up with him. And even if Joshua's on the floor, like, I really want to see Nate Ament really assert himself as the best player on that court, because to me, he has the physical tools to do it. So yeah, those are the players I'll be watching out for during the Sweet 16. You guys let me know who you guys looking forward to, and I'll see you guys next week, okay? PJ's out.